Here's the double talk from MAGA on what people do care about, which is jobs and prices.
Are you expecting agricultural products to be more expensive as a result of tariffs, Secretary?
When they voted in November of 2024, they knew that's what they were voting for. There may be an interim period as we're readjusting the entire economy. But listen, real change takes disruption.
I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
One on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word. The groceries.
Starting the day I take the oath of office, I will rapidly drive prices down.
Señores, si creen ustedes que Donald Trump tiene una solución para los problemas económicos en Estados Unidos, tal vez quieran pensarlo dos veces. Hemos visto las declaraciones más recientes y, lejos de ser una respuesta a los problemas, yo creo que podría ser una trampa mortal para la economía y la clase trabajadora. ¿Realmente puede cumplir lo que prometió? ¿Tan solo fue un juego de manipulación? Sean bienvenidos a Políticamente en Desacuerdo. Señores, hoy veremos cómo los votantes están rechazando la política económica de Donald Trump. Veremos a demócratas como Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, cómo los ataca, cómo los define con la etiqueta que se merecen: ladrones multimillonarios. Así que los invito a que se queden hasta el final de este video. Veremos datos muy interesantes, porque al final les voy a demostrar cómo Donald Trump ya ha implementado casi la mitad de las políticas del famoso proyecto 2025. Empecemos con las noticias. En una entrevista reciente, seguramente muchos ya la habrán visto, pero Michael Moore, el famoso documentalista y activista, habló sobre cómo las políticas de Trump están afectando la economía, cómo los trabajadores y en sí la democracia en general está viéndose afectada. Veremos cómo expone a Trump la manera en la cual está jugando con la percepción de la gente para poder venderse como este salvador de la economía, algo que lo hemos visto en toda su carrera política, cuando en realidad, amigos, sus decisiones podrían hacer justo lo contrario. Pero bueno, no me crean a mí. Vamos a ver este fragmento de esta entrevista y luego vamos a analizarlos juntos. Pongamos el clip.
We're joined by someone who knows all about these issues and has warned about them in film and in politics. Michael Moore, the Oscar-winning filmmaker, has campaigned in previous cycles with Bernie Sanders. He's, of course, an author and a popular Substack columnist. Welcome back.
Thank you, Ari.
Where do you want to begin, Michael? Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, it's great seeing Bernie and AOC out there across the country. And it's starting to feel, I don't know, I should say this, it's way too early to talk about 2028 yet. Everybody's thinking about what we're going to do next year. I believe that Alexandria will be 35 by Inauguration Day in January of 2029. And perhaps historians will see this tour where Bernie and AOC barnstorm the country. Oligarchy versus democracy. And that introduced the idea of we need a whole new person, a kind of person in the White House that is going to fight for the people. And while Bernie may think, well, maybe by 2028 he's going to be too old, you can see just how not old he is. It's just been amazing to watch the tour this week. And to think about that we have somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to be the voice of, we have two full generations now of millennials and Gen Zers that are mad as hell at the world that they're being handed by the generations before them. And I can't live through another election where people stay home like they stayed home this time. I'm talking about liberal, lefty, Democrats, independents, people that by the millions stayed home on November 5th. And that costs us the election. There's more of us than there are of them. You look at every poll on the issues, the majority of Americans agree with Bernie and me and AOC. And yet millions stayed home. That's on the Democrats, and that has to change. And I'll just say one more thing. What I love about the tour is that Bernie is putting forth the idea that the Democrats have let us down in such a profound way. We need people running for office as independents like Bernie does. He does just fine. Now, maybe in your state or your city, that's not the best thing to do. But less, Bernie is not a member of the Democratic Party. Neither am I. And there's a reason for that. It should be evident by now. And we're not going to survive. If we think the Democrats are the cavalry and the cavalry is going to ride in and save us, that's not going to happen. Not with these Democrats. I'm sorry. I hate to say that, but we need more independent people. There are people watching me and you right now that need to think about running for office next year, local office, state office, Congress. We need to primary these Democrats that don't have the guts and the courage. Our country is being dismantled right now, and we are watching it. And for us to do nothing, for some of us who should be thinking about what we're going to do next year, that it's almost criminal that we are even just sitting here talking about this when we need to be out there. We should be in the streets. We should be running for office, and we should quit thinking the Democrats are going to save us. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. You're going to get a lot of emails and calls from people. Why are you having Michael Moore on? But I'm sorry. I can't go through another November 5th like we just went through. And in these 3-4 months since then, what we're watching happen every day, every hour, you turn on MSNBC and it's something else. What was it 2 hours ago? Oh, they're dismantling the civil rights office of the Department of Homeland Security. And if anything has proven that we need a civil rights office in Homeland Security, it's what has happened to Mahmoud Khalil in the last couple of weeks. This is the Columbia University graduate student who was arrested and disappeared to Louisiana, not committed a single crime, not accused of a single crime. All he has done is to try and stand up for his people, the Palestinian people, with his freedom of speech rights that he has as a legal permanent resident of the United States of America. And the fact that we have
I'll jump in, although I let you run it for a while, Michael.
No, thank you.
But you made a lot of good points. That issue you raised, along with the deportation clash across this whole week, is about whether we will have the liberty that the founding fathers set as a baseline and had to be expanded over time as we expanded who really was a human being. It's a longer history. But the core idea was you can't have a king snatch people up, accuse them of things, and disappear them, as you said. Now, if through a process you satisfy the requirements and the person has due process and rights and counsel, there are reasons why people, of course, can be removed. But you have to prove that. If you can't prove that, which they haven't had to because they deported these folks on the planes and the example you give, then anybody can be snatched up. I mean, that's the whole reason why these are question is king-like powers. Your first point is really profound. You say people might not like it, but the Republican Party was fraying, and it got a boost of MAGA, which went against a lot of its core values, but became this cult of Trump. But it papered over that sclerotic party. And then people say he took over. And the Democrats, from what happened to Bernie, which we've covered in the initial time he ran against Clinton, to a lot of the other problems the party's had, also have these complete credibility issues with the public. So we're watching a public that doesn't think either party's that great. I could show you the numbers today, and I could show you the numbers a couple of years back. It's what you said. And so the larger grassroots question is who's going to step up and meet that. So I appreciate what you said there. I want to give you more time, and I want to show you something on prices because all the way back to Flint, Michigan, we ignore the working people at our peril in a country like this, as you've documented. And so here's the double talk from MAGA on what people do care about, which is jobs and prices.
Are you expecting agricultural products to be more expensive as a result of tariffs, Secretary?
When they voted in November of 2024, they knew that's what they were voting for. There may be an interim period as we're readjusting the entire economy, but listen, real change takes disruption.
I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
I want on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries.
Starting the day I take the oath of office, I will rapidly drive prices down.
Prices aren't down. Markets are down, and tariffs are up. Is this a bait and switch? Go ahead.
Groceries. That was the word, groceries. Okay. Yeah, listen. This is the gift of Trump, if I could put it that way, that he has already started to turn his own people against him. They're not quite there yet, but when they start going to the doctor and there's no Medicaid payment, and they're going to have to pay that doctor for their children and all of that. Just go down the whole list of things that it's going to cost them more and more money. It's going to be harder and harder to live. And they're going to understand that he's the one that made this happen. And maybe he's thinking, well, I'm really good at lying. And if you just say it long enough, price of eggs, price of eggs, price of eggs, price of eggs, that they'll go with that. I don't think so. I think the American people are smarter than that. And I know fellow liberals are watching this and going, Mike, no. But yes. And from, as you mentioned, Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan is the birthplace of the 8-month pregnant wife of Mahmoud Khalil. She was born and raised in Flint, Ari. She was a top student at Flint University of Michigan, Flint branch. Gave the graduation speech there about 8 years ago. She's now a dentist. She's Dr. Noor Abdallah from Flint, Michigan, American citizen. He's a permanent legal resident with a green card. And I'm sorry to go back to that, but I'm just saying that the people in the state of Michigan, which Trump won, in the Flint, Michigans, in the Grand Rapids, in the Pontiacs, all those places, he's not going to keep this up. They're already on to him. They're already on to Chainsaw Man. And I read this thing the other day, the Michigan Chainsaw Massacre, of how Michigan is already hurting by the things that he's done. People are wise. They will come along to this. They will realize this. The Republicans, there's this, what's his name? Andy Biggs. He's, they're all getting just slammed at their town halls. He's doing a town hall. He said now that only Republicans can come to it. They're going to vet you and make sure only Republicans can get in the room. Andy Biggs, if you don't know, if you're watching this, is one of the 147 Republicans who, after a violent mob took over the United States Capitol on January 6th, and it took almost till late in the evening near midnight for the police and the National Guard to remove them from our Capitol. And then all the members of Congress and the senators came back in. And at 2 or so in the morning, now January 7th, 147 Republicans voted to overturn the 2020 election. They voted to overthrow the vote of the people. I'll exactly quote the New York Times. 147 Republicans who voted to, quote, overturn election results. And Reuters, Republicans, 147 of them voted to overturn the election. To me, I'm sorry, I was raised differently. That's the work of traitors. If you are voting, and you're voting just hours after an attempted overthrow of the United States Capitol, and then you show up and then you vote to say, no, we reject what the American people have said and how they voted. That's a treasonous act. And there were 147 Republicans who did this, including Andy Biggs, who only wants Republicans at his town hall. The American people, I know a lot of people who didn't vote. They should have voted. They'll never stay home again.
Bueno, amigos, hay algo muy interesante, ¿no?, que dice, y es: Donald Trump ha logrado convencer a muchos trabajadores de que él es la única esperanza, cuando en realidad sus políticas terminan beneficiando a los más ricos. Están dejando a la clase media, a la clase baja, en la cuerda floja. Por ejemplo, hablemos de los aranceles. Él insiste en que aumentar los aranceles a las importaciones es algo que terminaría ayudando a la economía estadounidense, ¿cierto? Pero la realidad es que esto hace que los precios suban para los consumidores promedio. Si las empresas tienen que pagar más por importar productos, adivinen quién termina cubriendo los costos: los consumidores. Así que esta simple idea de que ayudaría a los trabajadores es una farsa. También está el tema de los impuestos para los ricos. Vimos cómo en su primer mandato recortó impuestos a las grandes corporaciones y millonarios, diciendo que esto generaría más empleos. ¿Cuál fue el resultado? Las empresas usaron este dinero extra para recomprar sus propias acciones, aumentar sus ganancias, no para mejorar los sueldos, no para contratar a más trabajadores. Y eso es un hecho comprobado. Otro punto que es clave y que también se menciona en la entrevista es cómo Donald Trump ha manipulado su base de seguidores con miedo y desinformación. Él habla de crisis económica, como si fuese la culpa exclusiva de los demócratas, cuando en realidad muchas de las consecuencias actuales son resultado de sus propias políticas fallidas en su gobierno. Ahora sé que algunos podrán salir a argumentarme, pero al menos Trump está tomando medidas en contra de China, por ejemplo, que está protegiendo a los empleos estadounidenses como lo prometió. ¿A qué costo? Hay estudios, cientos de estudios, muestran cómo la guerra comercial con China llevó a pérdidas de miles de empleos en sectores claves. Y aquí viene pues uno de los empleos, de los sectores que Trump siempre se pone en la boca, que es la manufactura y la agricultura. Y él mismo los perjudicó. Mientras, los grandes empresarios encontraron formas de seguir maximizando sus ganancias. Amigos, lo que estamos viendo aquí es un simple juego de manipulación. Él nos vende la idea de que es el único que puede arreglar la economía, cuando en realidad sus políticas han demostrado ser todo lo contrario. Mientras tanto, la gente de a pie es la que está sufriendo las consecuencias de estas decisiones. Lo peor es que este tipo de discursos funcionan porque apelan a las emociones, al miedo, al resentimiento, en lugar de a los hechos, de la realidad económica. Por eso, amigos, es fundamental que siempre estemos informados y no caigamos en esta trampa de las promesas vacías. Bueno, señores, pasemos al siguiente tema. Como les dije al inicio, quiero demostrarles con hechos cómo es que Donald Trump ha implementado casi la mitad de las políticas de este famoso proyecto 2025, ¿no? Donald Trump sigue vendiendo esta historia que no cuadra con la realidad. Seguramente ustedes recuerdan cuando Trump aseguró que no tenía nada que ver con el proyecto 2025, ¿no? Este plan de la ultraderecha que propone cambios radicales en el gobierno de Estados Unidos. Bueno, resulta que la historia es muy diferente cuando abrimos los ojos, cuando revisamos lo que realmente ha estado pasando en su administración. Antes de que entremos directamente en materia, creo que dejemos claro qué es el proyecto 2025, ¿no? Es en sí un extenso documento creado por organizaciones conservadoras y propone una transformación drástica del gobierno federal. O sea, hablamos de eliminar agencias, hablamos de acabar con políticas de diversidad, restringir derechos reproductivos y hasta reforzar la idea de un presidente todopoderoso. O sea, según Trump, él no tiene nada que ver con esto. Pero si abrimos los ojos, es lo que ha estado sucediendo. Veamos este clip.
Take a walk down memory lane, shall we? Back when Donald Trump publicly dismissed Project 2025, said he had nothing to do with it. That 900-page conservative playbook for a future Republican presidency.
I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it.
Now, flash forward to the first 60 days of his second term, and you would see a different story there altogether, one in which Donald Trump appears to pretty closely follow the blueprint of Project 2025. From erasing DEI initiatives to dismantling the education department and fundamentally overhauling the federal government, a community-sourced website called the Project 2025 Tracker says Donald Trump has so far implemented nearly 41% of the book's suggestions. 41%. Joining us now, staff writer at The Atlantic, David Graham. Good to have you, David. I read you religiously and happy to, I'm sorry, staff writer for The Project. I'm sorry, you're the author of The Project, How Project 2025 is Reshaping America, which comes out in April. This is what happens when I look down without reading the rest of the prompts. David, good to have you. Talk to me about what you've seen so far from the Trump administration.
Well, I think you're right. You know, he did disavow this during the campaign, and in fact, his actions since then have shown how closely tied it is. If you look at staffing, I mean, Russell Vought, who's the head of OMB, is one of the main writers of Project 2025. You have contributors to the project all over the administration at the cabinet level on down. And as that graphic showed, there's many, many ways in which they are following the agenda laid out in the plan, right down to the dissolution of the education department, moving things like student loans off to other departments. These are things that were put out in the project and that they're following now.
We can put up on the screen all the people that authored chapters of Project 2025 who are now in the administration. I mean, this goes beyond, right, David, the theory of a unitary executive.
That's right. I think the unitary executive theory is an important sort of philosophical underpinning for a lot of what they're doing. Their view is that Trump should have, or any president really should have total control over the executive branch to hire and fire whoever he wants. But that's really just a means to the ends. And those ends are the things we're seeing, like getting rid of the education department, like cracking down on not just illegal immigration, but legal immigration. You know, these are just, they have a plan for how they want to do these things, but the point is to institute this kind of far right Christian nationalist worldview that's laid out in the agenda.
So we've seen 41%, as we've said. One of the big points that was made in Project 2025 was a way in which to cut back on abortion nationwide, to basically make a federal ban the practice, even if you can't actually pass a federal ban. Do you expect to see that in the coming months, perhaps years?
I think we will see more of that. You know, one of the things that has been a little bit slow about this is getting the lower level officials in place. It's been a little bit slow getting the cabinet officials in place. But that's the place that Project 2025 understands a lot of these policies are carried out. And so as you see more appointees moving into places like the Department of Health and Human Services, I think you'll see more pushing on that. And the agenda is, you know, it is very far reaching. They want to use the 1873 Comstock Act to eliminate the ability to mail abortion pills. They want to withdraw approval for abortion pills. They want to institute a really sweeping surveillance regime of how states, what abortion is going on at the state level so the federal government can track that. It really is incredibly pervasive if they're able to do what they lay out here.
David, I hope to have you back again. I read you religiously at The Atlantic. I'm going to put up your book one more time because I completely flubbed the intro. You were the author of the book, The Project, a brand new book. Please go out and read it. David, thank you again for coming.
Lo escucharon bien, ¿no? Trump ha dicho que no tiene idea de qué es esto, ¿no? Que no lo ha leído. Esto lo vimos en los meses de campaña. Pero aquí hay un problema, amigos. Muchas de las personas que están implementando estas políticas están en su gobierno. De hecho, según el proyecto 2025, el Tracker, conocidísimo, ya se han ejecutado más del 40% de las propuestas de este plan. Entonces, si Donald Trump no sabe nada sobre este tema, ¿cómo explicamos que esté rodeado de personas que lo escribieron, que ahora ocupan cargos claves en su administración? Su equipo de trabajo está repleto de los mismos autores del proyecto 2025. Yo creo que ya no es una casualidad. Ahora bien, amigos, las cosas aquí se ponen más preocupantes. Trump y su equipo han comenzado a desmantelar, ¿no?, el Departamento de Educación, transfiriendo responsabilidades a otros organismos, lo cual podría significar menos regulaciones, más desigualdades en lo que es acceso a la educación. Eso no es todo, porque el proyecto 2025 también propone usar una ley de 1873 para poder prohibir el tema de distribución de las píldoras en el tema del derecho reproductivo. No vamos a ir muy en fondo a esto. Amigos, están buscando formas de restringir. Esto ya vimos y todo a través de lagunas legales. Ya esto está en marcha, por cierto. Ahora, imagino que algunos pueden decir, pero no es Trump quien está promoviendo directamente todo esto, ¿no? Si realmente no estuviera de acuerdo con estas políticas, ¿por qué su gobierno las está implementando a esta velocidad? Si nos fijamos en el pasado, Donald Trump ha sido este maestro en distorsionar la realidad. Ha usado la estrategia de negar, de distraer durante años. Pero cuando vemos cómo se está alineando con el proyecto 2025, ya todo se hace evidente. Todo lo que dice, todo lo que hace, son dos cosas muy diferentes. Entonces, la gran pregunta es, ¿Trump realmente está en contra del proyecto 2025? ¿O simplemente no quiere que el público sepa cuál es su verdadero plan? La evidencia apunta a lo segundo. Este proyecto es un intento de reformar el gobierno a su imagen y semejanza. Lo está haciendo, con o sin declararlo públicamente. ¿Ustedes creen que Trump realmente no tiene nada que ver con esto? ¿O simplemente es un juego de percepción pública? Los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en los comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por quedarse hasta el final de este video. Como siempre, regálame un like, compártelo con tus amigos y suscríbete a nuestro canal Políticamente en Desacuerdo. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.